because I realize, again, that people are becoming disillusioned with cup-burn and poison and the mystery of disease. Yeah, I mean, for instance, you know, in the United States, in 1908, 1 in 8,000 people died of cancer. Then the President of the United States announced a full-out war against cancer 47 years ago in the U.S., who spent over $2 trillion fighting cancer. The American Cancer Society is the most wealthy charity on the face of the earth.
You did say charity.
Charity. And they make hundreds of billions of dollars, and not once have they ever offered any kind of explanation to cancer, a cure for cancer. And so it makes you wonder what's going on, because last year alone in the U.S. we spent $138 billion developing new weapons of war in this fight against cancer. And now one in 3 Americans die of cancer.
Lost the war.
Doesn't it seem like it?
Yeah.
Maybe something's wrong.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And in fact...
Also I see, I work in the medical profession, younger and younger people.
Absolutely. I just met with a young boy and his parents in Sydney just last week. He's being told that he will be dead of leukemia within 3 to 4 weeks. And they had no clue that he even had this condition. He went to school a week ago and had a tummy ache and went to see the school nurse. School nurse says, well, let's just call your parents and have you go home and rest. The parents picked him up. They were a little concerned about his tummy ache, so they just went to the hospital to see if they could get something for his tummy. And the nurse didn't like what she saw, and they called into the doctors, and he stayed in the hospital, and they came in 2 days later and told him he was dying of leukemia. And 14 years old, and cancers are younger and younger and younger. But so as I sat down to them and went over and tried to take away the mystery of disease, especially the mystery of cancer, I think it's fairly simple to understand. And now, luckily, I've had an opportunity to work with oncologists and teach them what cancer is and how to remit it through self-care. And so there's a coming revolution, a revolution of self-care. And I think that what's going to happen in just the next 1 to 2 decades is that more and more people, including doctors, men and women, who have intentions of honestly wanting to understand and assist in the healing arts without doing harm, which is something that is starting to become more and more obvious, that standard allopathic procedure is doing more harm than good. In the United States, it's already a published study. The medical community kills over 2 million people.
Which is more than road accidents,
each
isn't
year.
it?
Yeah.
It's funny,
much
we report
so.
the road accidents on the news overnight, but we don't say, and another 14 people died today through being admitted to hospital.
That's right. And so there's a shift coming. And when people begin to understand the simplicity of health and get rid of the complexity of fighting disease, there's no end to the fight. Because if you solve the fight, you solve the war, you solve the money. There is absolutely no financial interest in ever solving a disease.
It's like all these doctors say, well, let's pack up our toys and go and get a new job because we don't need it anymore.
Exactly. And you know, that's not going to happen from inside. It's going to happen because people wake up and take control and begin to understand the brilliant, simple wisdom of the principles of health and where it comes from.
You talk about the body as being tubes.
Yes. The body is a set of tubes. Physically, that's all we are. You can slice a kidney and there's over 1 million tubes. You can take out one lung, spread out all the tubes, it'll cover a complete tennis court. Just tubes. The heart is a collection of tubes. It's about 2 million tubes, and then it has over 400,000 kilometers of tubing running throughout the body. It's tubes. Largest tube being the alimentary canal. It starts at the mouth, runs all the way through the house to the back door. And it's supposed to be groceries in, garbage out. But what's happening is a lot of people have fallen into the propaganda of large agribusiness that's also controlled by the pharmaceutical industry in creating synthetic artificial foods in factories and laboratories and putting pretty packaging with nutritional analysis, because they happen to spray synthetic vitamins and minerals on it right at the end, so they can say that this Cocoa Puffs or whatever it is that they're serving as a cereal, for instance, it's all these bright artificial colors that kids just want to eat for breakfast, is somehow nutritional for you. And that's not true. That is a lie.
They process all the nutrition out and then
They
they're trying
do.
to put it back in artificially. I don't know whether you're aware.
The
some
cells
years
don't
ago,
recognize it.
Yeah,
But,
they did an experiment. They put, it was one of those breakfast cereals, and they put it into a cage with rats. The rats ate the box, left the cereal. So I figured there was more nutrition in the box.
Absolutely. And that would be true.
Yeah.
At least it would have its fibers.
Yeah.
And that's correct. And so a lot of foodless foods and lifeless drinks, people are eating day in and day out. And we're under this opinion that if we eat a whole donut, we ate a whole food. And that's not true. It's simply not true. And so I've had the wonderful experience over the last couple of decades in helping terminal people told that they're terminal, and others that just have some tough situations turn it around on their own, and anywhere from 28 days to 90 days.
So you talk about fasting. Can you explain that a bit further?
Yeah. Fasting is an absolute brilliant wisdom of the past, and it honors a truest truth, that there's an intelligence that built this house, did it all on its own, no medical intervention in the construction of that thing, the construction. And it built this house. And that same intelligence, what medical science calls the autogenic self-healing system of the body, is the same intelligence that keeps it and maintains it. And when you embrace principles of health, you are actually assisting the intelligence of the body to maintain itself and to heal itself. And the 7 things that support the health of this body and its longevity is good, clean, fresh air. And that's coming into question scientifically as to what that means.
You talked about, let me just interrupt there for a minute, you were talking about air actually needing to be moving.
It does. Life is movement. And we need to bring life into the house for life to exist and to stay. Air that is alive is air that's electrical. And it electrifies and purifies itself if it moves 16 feet. And I don't know how many, whatever that is here. I'm sorry, I'm a dumb American. But every 16 feet, the air purifies and electrifies itself. In fact, the Laboratory of Sciences on the Big Island of Hawaii tested all of the new electronic machines that's supposed to purify your office air, your home air, and take out particles and put ozone and all that. They tested it against a simple ceiling fan. The ceiling fan beat every single one of them.
Because it's moving the air.
Hands down.
And here we are in a building with windows that don't open, so you
It's
can understand
nuts.
people sit in that environment day in, day out.
Crazy what we've done to ourselves. It is. It burns the lungs. And air that is not electrical enough, it burns them. So mucosal lining cells have to produce mucus in the lungs to protect it from being burnt. It's doing its job. But we go down and we get an anti-mucus, anti-cough medication and suppress the symptom of the body trying to protect itself and heal itself.
And in relation to cancer, you say, therefore, if that particular cell that is, say, producing mucus can't do it, the body produces more cells to try and do the job. Would you explain that?
Absolutely. You see, it's interesting, and what we're dealing with here is symptoms. The medical community only understands, and they're only taught one thing: attack symptoms. But symptoms are the body's cure of an offense. If you look up the word symptom, it's a Greek root that means a sign or a signal of something else. So if you feel nauseous and you feel like you need to throw up, you should drink some water and stick your finger down your throat and throw up.
Makes sense.
That's the symptomatic response, that there's something else offending it. Instead of doing that, we run down and we buy a drug, over-the-counter, a prescription, that will suppress and get rid of the nauseousness. But it didn't deal with the something else. So the something else is still there, and the autogenic system, the self-healing system of the body says, well, gosh, if we can't throw it out the front door, let's run it out the back door. So it opens up sphincters, it creates fluid flow, and what we call diarrhea. Diarrhea is, again, a symptom, meaning a body's cure of the something else. We run down, grab a medication that is anti-diuretic, and shut it down. So now the body, there's only 4 channels of elimination, which is tubes, and that is the digestive alimentary canal, the urinary tract, the lungs, and the skin.